Well, by now, I'm sure you must have seen other people talk about it. And this thing's over a year old now. This recreation of of Star Trek, basically, of all the sets that it had, and the television shows, and the movies, and even the cartoon. In fact, hey, it's the old bridge. Well, not exactly. This is a realistic recreation of the bridge as it was modeled in the cartoon series. You got the extra door. You've got the cool chandelier that they had, but the extra door. And this is from Otoy, who's working with I'm assuming that's the way to pronounce it right. It was this digital animation, our CGI company that's done a lot of great work for a variety of programs and whatnot, has taken on this Gene Roddenberry Archives project. And ultimately, there will be this sort of virtual tour of all the different ships, mostly all the different versions of the Enterprise, but I imagine, of course, Voyager will be in there and stuff like that. Maybe they'll even do a couple of Klingon vessels, too, and the Romulan ships, especially the one from the old series, stuff like that. That'd be cool. And the Bird of Prey, you got to see a lot of its interior anyway in the movies, so yeah, they could probably do one of those. And then, I'm sure they'll throw in Discovery and stuff like that. But anyway, you'll be able to walk in and I'll go through that door and, hey, what's back there? That's the bathroom. But anyway, you can see how cool it is. And it just goes to show you it could have been done. You can recreate this look and style and everything. And have a pretty good show, Didn't do it. So here we are. The other interesting thing, and it's just brief little teasers that they've done of different snippets of time in Star Trek. And there's one where Spock goes to Kirk's grave, where he was buried by Picard at the end of Star Trek Generations. And they show the saucer section being recovered, which is a scenario I always assumed would happen. I mean, you can't just leave technology like that laying around. And this leaves up all kind of potential storylines for the likes of the Doomsday Machine and the Guardian of Forever and stuff like that. Not how Discovery did it with Guardian, but anyway, every time there's one of these adventures, you would think, well, Starfleet needs to send somebody out there to deal with that, because this is some pretty powerful technology just laying around and stuff. But here, they reunite Spock with Yeoman Colt from The Cage, the first original pilot for Star Trek, starring Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Pike. And they ended up abandoning that and shooting a new pilot with Shatner where No Man's Gone Before, and then reused the footage in the Menagerie with Pike in the chair and everything. And we had this cute redhead in there. And so it stands to reason you could make up a narrative where she meets up with Spock years later. And this is in the motion picture era. And by the dialogue in the motion picture, you could surmise that there's a period of time that the original series era only just ended a couple of years prior to the motion picture story. And you could kind of just finagle it to where there's a lot more years between motion picture and Wrath of Khan. That was a whole other 5-year mission that went on in this era, and these uniforms and how the ship looked and everything. And then later on, you have the Wrath of Khan era and what happens there. So a lot of possibilities there. But the main thing here is how cool this looks, especially since you could say, well, look, it's obviously CGI. And I imagine there's some deep fakery going on here. But this is a lot of prosthetics and makeup on this actor standing in for Spock. Yeoman Colt kind of looks like the Yeoman Colt, the lady they have here, but she looks more like she would be a relative or something. And I guess they just didn't do any prosthetics for her except the wig. And maybe some later deep faking could work, but I don't know that it's all that necessary. It's a good choice. And but that's the deal. It's just this guy was a better match for Leonard Nimoy than she was for was it Laurel Goodwin, I believe her name was. She ended up doing an Elvis movie. Yeah. Anyway, it just excites the imagination and the possibilities. They've recreated some of the cities around the area. I'm not sure if this is supposed to. That's obviously the San Francisco, where the main Starfleet base is and stuff like that. Here we go. This is the prosthetics being applied to this guy. I believe Lawrence Selleck is his name. Don't know if there's any relation to Tom, but this is the mold that they've made, and they're applying it to his face. And, of course, lots of ears. That's going to come in handy. Huh. I don't know. And there he is, looking every bit like Leonard Nimoy. And this is like behind the scenes shot of them getting the makeup done, and this guy picking his nose. Or lady, rather. Stuff, but nevertheless, it's extraordinary, And I don't know if these people can act really good, but boy, because the film's very short, and I imagine it's like a promotional snippet for the whole overall project of people to go in and check out all these visuals and the visual tour of the universe of Star Trek and that sort of thing. And so there's quite a few shots. This is a scene of the Enterprise is going to. That's from the cage. There's Spock again. Colt. Apparently there's a flashback scene of the Enterprise being destroyed and search for Spock. And Spock looks back at it. There he is again. And Colt again. And then she's in some adventure. And apparently this is based on a Star Trek comic book. I had the series. I haven't read them all yet. So I'll probably get to it. But that's the deal. They're going to have realistic recreations of the different eras of Trek. And that includes comic books and novels, I believe. And so there we are. That's probably one of the later ones. This might be from something IDW did or what have you. And there she is in a later era of Trek. This would have been the original series, which we never saw her a part of. But then, hey, it'll fill in the gaps of what she was up to in between missions of the Enterprise. And then there's, some encounter. Spock's mind melding with her. Something about Jupiter. I don't know. I don't know if they dated or what. Staring at the stars. But there you go. It's just an incredible achievement at what they've done there, recreating all of this. They give you a tour of all the different ships, including one of the original designs that Jeffries had, which looks more like a ship you would have seen in 2001, Space Odyssey. But they decided to go with this one instead. I think that's actually a representation of the cartoon version. And then this is supposed to be the Enterprise of the distant future with a giant greenhouse in it or something. But anyway, and of course the Space Shuttle Enterprise. This is the actual Ralph McQuarrie design brought to life, not Discovery. Yeah. And so stuff like that, and they show more of that, bringing Ralph McQuarrie's design, which was supposed to be for, Planet of the Titan, which was a film idea they pursued before you got the motion picture, and then just were going with phase 2, and then ended up with motion picture. Closer look at that old design that never lived. But then again, they could do a story where there is this ship that looks like that, and that would be cool. And then there's Starship McQuarrie flying along. More Enterprises. The destroyed Enterprise. They recreate all that. For whatever this little narrative they're going to tell. More shots of Colt as they're positioning her in the Enterprise background. And there they are. It looks like, hey, I don't remember this in the movie. And it's just so cool. And it's just, you can imagine what you could do. The original director of The Cage, he showed up and gave some pointers, I guess. They recreated the bridge as it was then, Oh, it's a wig. It's not real. There's the original Yeoman Colt. But there they spliced them together, how close the two resemble each other. And, yeah, you know, good casting. Some behind-the-scenes shots of them shooting all of this. And look, that's what Pike's phaser would look like. See? It wouldn't look like the one you see in Strange New Worlds or STD. The meeting room. See, this is some of the places you'll get to go look at the archive. This is shots from that film, which is on YouTube. And Kirk's, they recreated the ending of Generations. There's Kirk's badge, and this is Spock going over there. There's the saucer section being recovered. And then Spock jumps back in time to the motion picture era for, I don't know, a memory or something, you know. And ta-da, there he is. Oh, boy. Hard to believe, but there it is. More saucer section, more city, more Spock staring at clouds. Shatner did quite a few hours of interviews with him for the archive, and you know, telling stories about the show and films and all that, to keep the complete record as much as possible of the whole you know, universe and work. And some more behind the scenes. They got him a captain's chair. Lots and lots of this, all the different bridges and whatnot. And then look who they could bring to life from the animated series. And when you consider this technology, theoretically, you could go, depending on how, when the technology gets cheaper, and recreate in a realistic live action version of those stories. And there he is. He'd be piloting the Enterprise. More shots. When they shot this scene of Spock discovering Kirk's grave. Now this looks like actual Leonard Nimoy. I'm not sure if this is just behind the scenes footage or if they're showing how they recreated it. I don't know. More places within the Enterprise, the one you all know and love, that you could tour and go into. More scenes of recreation and perhaps originals. I'm not sure. This is probably something they recreated for that. I think this was supposed to be the Phase 2 Enterprise, and then they abandoned that for the movie and changed it up a little, you know. And you see the concept art is what it's supposed to be. Hey, look, it's McCoy. And you get an idea of kind of what they were shooting for, where the uniforms were similar, but a little different from the old show. And here we go again in the Yeoman Rand showed up on the Enterprise. We just never got to see it. And there she was. Yeah, see? It happened. It looks like the hair's a little off here or there, but it just spot on. And then more scenes from motion picture era. And of course, okay, yeah, right. This was based on a comic book about Spock finding the grave of Kirk. They believed him to be dead, and explaining the mysterious properties of the Nexus to Starfleet would prove difficult. I instead thought it best to lay Captain Kirk to rest on Meridian 3, where he gave his life to save millions. But I felt that you above all should know of your friend's final courageous act, a more than fitting capstone to an extraordinary life. So he got a message from Jean-Luc Picard about what happened to Spock. I mean, Kirk. And I know Shatner wrote a novel explaining how Kirk comes back. And, of course, the Nexus properties could be a way to finagle out of that. I don't know if that's what he did. I never read it. But that might also be something that they're going to go ahead and depict as the canon of Star Trek. More treatments. They're sure doing an awful lot, so I kind of wonder how long is this film and what all does it entail. And for the first time, being excited for something Star Trek related. There's Pike's communicator. That's what it should look like. But it does it in Strange New Worlds. And there they are again. Um, don't know what this could depict. They're just going to use the model of that ship for some story. I don't know. And I think this is a scene from the comic book that Yeoman ran, appears in. And, well, I think that's it. Yeah. So it looks really cool. And it's a little saddening in that Star Trek didn't have to be treated so badly over the past few years if someone had cared. And granted, I understand there were rights concerns and stuff like that, but you could have done a better effort than that. However, it probably wouldn't have been as good because regardless of what it looked like or what continuity things they got correct, the stories were just terrible. So I guess it's just as well. Oh, okay, I missed a few here. This is this was from a comic book story involving Cult, and they're recreating that in live action for this project. And so they're there. That's very cool. Recreating this comic book scene of the Enterprise on display there. And so, oh boy, well, what? Here we go. There's our big star. So, well, could use a little more modeling, but nevertheless, and they did do a live action, an actual prop, statue of this guy, and then they could animate it as they go. But you get the right lighting and all that stuff to set it up, And then there you go. You could recreate those animated series episodes with this very alien-looking crew member on the Enterprise. So, again, it's really cool. Look forward to seeing what else they do. But, before a new series got off the ground, there were rumors about different projects they were looking at. And there was probably a lot of truth to them. Some, like the Starfleet Academy thing, it's something they'd been chasing around for a long time. And now we're going to get Kurtzman's, CW teenage soap opera drama series. They probably won't even go into space. But whatever. But several options were tossed around. Most of them didn't sound that great. Some were interesting. So one about the Romulan War and all that. That might have been an interesting thing. But another thing that got tossed around was a Star Trek anthology series, in the sense that it could be in the mold of Fargo or American Horror Story, where each season is its own contained thing. And you could pick any era of Star Trek, and even one beyond the eras we've seen. And that would be an interesting thing to pursue. And with something like this, it could be out of any of these eras. It could be on another ship that's in Kirk's time and stuff like that. A ship that deals with the consequences of something the Enterprise was involved in, and that kind of thing. That would have been a cool approach to Star Trek if you're really curious about breaking molds or what have you, or pushing the edge or whatnot. And could have expanded on it, like one of the series could go off on its own, especially one set in the future era. You could have created this new Star Trek that would go off as a regular episodic show unto itself. But the anthology approach would be cool in the sense that you could get top-notch talent that's not willing to commit to a series overall, but could do a couple of episodes for a season. And with this type of technology, it would look really great. And of course, you would need top-notch writing talent that understands science fiction, and but so far, not so much the case. Star Trek Picard Season 3 was better than all the other efforts that the current iteration of Trek has done, but at best, it only achieved being a adequate space show. And of course, people seeing beloved characters brought back for one more go-around is going to have some mileage to it. But that in and of itself is not really going to restore what's been happening at the moment. I know there's hopes among some people, but I'm not really seeing it, especially since what's been announced. It doesn't sound anything like that. So, what might have been, But You'll get this curious look at the all the beloved sets and ships and more so. Of course, they're going to have to make up some stuff as you virtually tour through the interior of these ships, stuff like that. And that's fine and well, but really this short film or whatever it's supposed to be has me very much intrigued, and would really love for it to be a full-blown movie, you know. But I think that's unlikely. But who knows? So it's an interesting curiosity, and it's there's a bit of sadness in it that we don't really have Star Trek anymore, for no good reason, really. Could have, but don't. But it is interesting to watch the technology grow, and the possibilities in the right hands could be quite special. So anyway, I just thought I would, toss in my 10 cents on this and look at some of these cool images. So I'll link the site down below, and you can check it out for yourself.